So, you guys were talking about self-hypnosis, about body language, and an open mind.
Is it more open now?
It's more focused now.
Ah, good. Good. Now, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play with some things today. In the context of self-work, let's think about the grid. That's where I want to do some NLP techniques, but you know what? The longer I'm talking, the more I'm thinking we need to work on the grid. So I guess Kathleen will just have to wait for the videos of me teaching the fast phobia cure and change personal history and all that other stuff.
Wait a minute, that's awesome.
Huh? Or do you guys want to do body language?
I don't know. Let me ask you this. Are you going to cover any of this in October?
Well, self-hypnosis, we're going to spend a lot of
But
time.
I mean the phobia stuff?
If people want to do phobia work, we'll do phobia work. In Renegade, the NLP stuff is integrated in with the hypnotic stuff, even though it's all hypnotic
You don't
stuff.
really know the difference, yeah.
Well, I know the
I
difference.
mean, you do, but I mean, we wouldn't, yeah.
No, you wouldn't. In fact, I'm going to have a whole training silo for NLP. I'm going to have 2 levels of NLP that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing applied NLP certification, which is my approach to NLP, and then I'm going to have Society of NLP certification, which is what Richard teaches, and you'll be vetted through his organization.
That's like the
Yeah, and I'm actually getting personally evaluated by Richard, which is not something he does for anybody else. Because I have special circumstances like this.
I like how you made yourself go down when you really were going up.
Well, no, because when I went to the training, I spent 2 weeks out, no, actually almost 3 weeks out there. Their trainers were taking notes from me. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Guys that went with me, like Luis,
Mm-hmm.
he was blowing their doors off with technique and stuff. You know, just from coming to the masterminds and things like that. You know, it's because the average skill set and the casualness with which we do things, most people struggle with. And a lot of it is environment and how you're introduced to things.
Well, everybody thinks that this particular type of work is always has to be really serious.
Fastest way to screw yourself up.
I always tell people you're my favorite to watch.
Me?
Yes. Maybe present. No, I tell them that all the time. You're the most entertaining. Yeah.
Well, that's part of it. Because people who are entertained are absorbed. They're engrossed.
laughter shuts off the critical factor like that.
It also dumps tons of oxytocin into your system. Richard Bandler is the only other person I've ever heard or experienced talking about the effects of oxytocin in the context of hypnotic phenomena. When he came out with that, I was blown away. I was like, oh shit, cool, you know.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because it's a bonding hormone, so like, of course when mom has a baby, oxytocin.
That's a tiny part of what oxytocin does.
Yeah, okay, but so that's why I'm asking. That's where I've been trained.
If
so.
there were one hormone that you would want to have control over in the body, it's oxytocin.
Really?
How happy are you?
It's not insulin?
It's
No.
no.
It's in
how
terms of
happy-
relationship and influence.
Oh.
No. So it's how happy you are.
No. Actually, happiness is a byproduct.
Okay.
So,
Oxytocin, first and foremost, you guys realize that oxytocin is the primary hormone that generates milk production in females, right?
okay.
So
Mhm.
on the most physiological level,
Okay. Milk. Okay.
milk production.
Funny how our culture wants milk all the time, too.
Well, they think they do.
Okay, it's also what we call the bonding hormone,
Yeah.
or pair bonding, specifically.
Huh. Did not know
When
that.
we talk about pair bonding, we're talking about mother to child or man to woman.
And usually the woman is actually releasing it and experiencing it more than the man. So how does the man experience it?
Usually, well, he experiences hormone oxytocin release as well, but he also does it through vasopressin and antidiuretic hormone. There's a slightly different chemical process in men, but oxytocin still has a huge factor in that.
How do you trigger that though?
We're getting to that.
Okay.
I thought you already had tons of admirers.
You haven't
You
figured
want
out,
people to have
you haven't
more-
figured out yet that Tara's all about power and control. She just doesn't like the words.
Yeah.
So you just a,
I thought you
so
already
you
had
just a
too much
female version of
attention.
David?
Huh?
Are you just a female version of David?
Oh no.
I'm thinking yes.
In some ways that would be good, in other ways I don't know.
I'm going deeper and deeper into the dark side. Oh, okay.
Actually, oxytocin.
I was thinking you can come up with that concept though.
Now,
Uh,
oxytocin
now we're all ready to go.
also has the capacity, most people don't realize this, but oxytocin is also the primary hormone for the creation of fetishes.
Oh.
Person experiences sexual arousal and or pleasure in the presence of an object, item, or person. Oxytocin creates the connection.
A
So it's-
fetish is a person?
So it's like a
Fetish
chemical.
is a sexual fetish is what I'm talking about specifically.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
you
a-
said an object, item, or person. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
People who are into toes,
You
Yeah.
said person. Like a fetish is a person.
fetish
right?
can't be a person
Like
or a type of
what?
person.
Like a celebrity.
People have fetish. Oh,
People stalk celebrities
yeah.
all the time.
okay. So they're a fetish. Interesting.
Yeah.
They're not somebody they know.
Inanimate
It
object.
could be inanimate objects, it could be fat people.
Could be pictures of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, oxytocin is the primary modulator of those.
I was going to say,
connections.
it almost seems like it's a chemical anchor.
Hmm.
Is another way to think about it, maybe.
Interesting.
Oxytocin is also the primary hormone that modulates trust.
Hmm.
I like
Now
it.
that is interesting. Or not a guess.
But wait,
there's
there's
more.
oxytocin is also the hormone that has the capacity to overwrite past behaviors and neurological programming.
Wow. Now we need to get to your question. How do you generate it? Best behaviors, and what was the last part?
Neurological programming.
So you can be stuck by it, or you can actually reprogram yourself.
I have seen women cured of spider phobias through massive intensive orgasm.
Oh shit.
So the energy becomes stronger and overwrites whatever the trauma
Uh-huh.
is.
If it's managed properly, most people, the release of oxytocin is a minimal and it's not managed.
It's just random.
Okay.
Wow.
It also creates what we call orgasmic inertia.
Hmm. That's funny, man.
Well, that's my term. Women who have orgasms become predisposed to having more orgasms faster.
It's gonna
The more times a woman orgasms, the more likely she's going to continue to orgasm.
Spreading it down.
What about men though?
Same
If
thing.
they can, you can modulate the refractory period, yes. That's where male multiple orgasms comes in, but it's a retraining process.
Okay, so can I ask something, because this is coming to my brain, that I thought that when you get to almost that point, you're supposed to back the guy off, and then go back to that point and back the guy off, and that's how they sustain their pleasure, is that right?
To a certain degree, but after a while, there's a lot of mini climaxes that occur over time,
Okay.
as opposed to one big explosive one. And then as the vagus nerve from the perennial floor to the brain becomes more and more stimulated, it becomes more full body, and other parts of it start to wake up. Okay. The vagus nerve runs pretty much through the entire body, okay, from the pelvic floor all the way up to the pineal gland. So, again, the more she comes, the more she's going to keep coming. Okay. But wait,
There's more?
does there really need to be any more?
Why?
Of course it does.
If there is, I want to know.
Are you writing out a paper?
No, I got the whole stack. Yeah, that's already a lot. Bonding, trust, orgasmic inertia, and overriding of past behaviors, that's a lot. Okay, how do we generate it?
No, hold on a second. Okay, I want to know more.
There was a Seinfeld episode about Muppet Times.
Hold on a second, motherfucker, I'm talking. The truth of the matter is,
I'm trying to be involved.
and again, sexuality, this is one of the things you guys gotta understand. When you're with a woman, you need to make her feel like the sexiest woman alive.
Yeah.
Okay, because that is the only way she will become sexually explorational. Okay? The corollary to that, because we men are stupid and grateful at the same time. Most men will not turn down the sight of a naked woman, regardless. Okay? That works for you. We do often say stupid shit. That works against us. All right? So, if and when the time comes, believe me when I say, the more excited about you he becomes, the less he'll care what's underneath your clothes in terms of scars or other anomalies that we might think are things that people get turned off by.
Well, there's the old adage about you can always turn the lights off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife
I
will let me.
tried that, and they don't.
They want to see it.
Yeah, they do.
They do want to see it? Yeah.
My wife won't. I love playing in the dark. My wife will not. Turn the lights on. I want to see it. Okay. And I'm sounding 50 pounds lighter as a result. But anyway, be that as it may. Okay. So the dynamics are very simple. Okay. Go and have fun to the degree that you're willing to have fun. Avoid putting a time frame on it. Avoid putting a for what purpose on it, because you're not there yet. You're still learning what you like and what you don't like. Okay. So again, it was fun breaking those taboos, wasn't it? You had fun. By the way, there's a tremendous oxytocin release every time you break a taboo.
Really?
When you're doing advanced personality change, and the protocols were designed specifically for people with sexual hang-ups who want to explore things like BDSM and they call consensual slavery, things like that. You do it progressively challenging taboos and having them experience intense orgasm when they do it.
Okay, so now let's get down to brass tacks. How do we release this stuff in people?
Fun and pleasure.
Makes sense. So take somebody on the roller coaster, and then
How
right when
often
you're done,
how often do you date people you don't like? Right? Why do you bond with people? Because you like them, right? You have fun with them. You experience pleasure with them. Okay? The more oxytocin hits your system, the more orgasm you have, the more a woman's fear centers and pain centers shut off. Therefore, she becomes extreme. And this happens for guys too, but most guys get out of their one shot McGee, so done. Women have a lot more potential without training, whereas men need a little bit more training to be able to do this kind of stuff. Oxytocin. The most oxytocin released is released during orgasm. Orgasm and sexual arousal. More orgasms, more oxytocin. More oxytocin, more orgasms.
So it becomes a loop.
More oxytocin.
So by getting a woman to go into that pleasurable, fun place, it actually makes them release more oxytocin, and they're able to go in to the different stages.
Sounds like they'll be more bonded, they'll have more
Oh, there's a
trust.
couple of things I left out.
Yeah.
The fewer orgasms a woman has, the more neurotic she becomes.
Oh. But I see that the other way around. See that going in the opposite direction. Once.
Define neurotic in this case.
Complete change of character.
Define complete change of character.
She went from a loving person down to a hateful individual.
After having a bunch of orgasms?
Yes.
Sounds to me like something else was going on there.
Yeah.
As a rule, oxytocin is also a woman's hormonal reset mechanism. Back in the turn of the century, the classic prescription for hysteria, which was a catch-all phrase for any kind of neurotic behavior a woman was experiencing, manually induced orgasm. Women would line up to go to these body burgers to get digitally stimulated. The common vibrators, massage tools, they were very, very common back then as well, or variations of them, specifically for this purpose.
You call them now.
Because women are going through, remember, a woman's hormonal personality changes monthly. Each day of her cycle changes her. And she will be consistent in her personality with those cycles, the monthly cycle. Men do it over the course of a year.
Do we?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I
That's
didn't know that.
It's a
interesting.
different cycle.
It's a different cycle.
Really? We have a yearly cycle?
Yes.
That's
We actually have an 8-year cycle that men go through according to Chinese medicine. But be that as it may.
Can you expand on that yearly cycle for men?
Just in terms of their behavior, in terms of consistency.
So when
I'll
you
go back.
avoid
I
that,
don't have the
basically,
notes on
when
it.
is it that time that you avoid it? All the guys want to avoid the women. When is that time for men?
I
You
don't
have to
think we
answer
have
that
it.
one.
What are we,
Exactly.
neurotic? Is that what you're asking?
When we're lucid?
No, it's the dynamics are different.
We're probably not, it's not
I'm
quite
talking
as
about
extreme.
behaviors so much, not necessarily in terms of when they're fertile, when they're not fertile, those things. But a woman's behavior will be consistent within her cycle.
Okay.
Okay, I'll dig up the information for the next time and we'll talk about it. But I really didn't think you guys would be that interested, so I didn't really prepare much on that.
You make it interesting.
Well, oxytocin is where it's all at. It's one of those big forks in the road between your relationship world and your therapy world. You completely overwrite past programming and behaviors using enough oxytocin.
So just give them fun and pleasure.
It's interesting though, because in my training, like around the world, different indigenous cultures and different teachers, it's ceremony, treated sacred. You know, I've heard a lot of things like not having so much fun. You know, and they're in the healing sessions and they're still doing massive transformations.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out how those two things then combine, because there's massive healing, you know, transformations going on, and it's treated more in a sacred, quiet, not fun, and not that I can't say fun is sacred, but I mean, do you get what I mean? So how?
Is there still pleasure involved?
I guess if they're healing whatever the issue is, that's creating a release, and then so that would be so, I guess so.
What is an orgasm?
Yeah,
What is an orgasm?
a release, I guess. Yeah.
It's a neurological muscular tension release. That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. Oxytocin is the primary mediator. Women, as a rule, tend to gravitate towards any activity that results in orgasm, which can be intense thinking. Many women can think themselves in orgasm. Oh yeah. Some guys can too. Usually that's how they wind up with premature ejaculation. They wind up making too vivid a level set of mental imagery. They get excited.
So I guess so let me ask you this, again, sort of tactically. So you do something to induce an oxytocin release. Then what do you do with that? Do you just plant the suggestions, or
You have fun.
how do you,
What suggestions?
well, I'm assuming we're using this for a purpose.
What purpose are you using it for?
Well, we were talking about, changing past behaviors, or, so.
In the context of a therapeutic session, if we do illumination, they release that, they're in a good place, and then they do put their positive statement in there. And it's a lot more receptive. So I guess you could say yes in a therapeutic way. Are you considering it in other ways?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, what if you walked up to somebody and said, I want you to think of the most fun you've ever had in your life, where you were laughing till you couldn't stop, you were bent over in pain, it was so freaking funny, you thought about this event for months afterward. You're going to get the job. Or what? Is that?
I didn't hear a question in there anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure
I
out.
don't know, I was just,
Are you
I was
talking about-
using it, I don't know.
Are you
You're
just
talking about
Remember,
relationships
we're
now,
talking
or
about
what?
pleasure. Okay, the more pleasure and fun we experience, and I'm gravitating more towards pleasure. Mark Cunningham, one of my mentors, had a whole training silo on conditioning people with pleasure because of the oxytocin release.
So how do we
use it?
how do we impart pleasure? How do we go ahead and get ourselves to that point to be able to say, yes, I'm ready to be able to actually give that to another individual?
To another individual?
Yeah. Well,
I
person.
need a little bit more context.
Okay. So why? Why do it? There's a part of me that whenever I hear about giving somebody pleasure, it sort of like have sort of like a stop sign went in front of me going and telling me that no, you don't want to go that far
Because?
just yet. I don't know. Could be conditioning, could be something internal.
What would happen if you did?
Empty. I don't know why.
If you gave somebody pleasure, you would be empty.
I will feel empty.
It's only refractory period.
It's kind of weird.
What do you feel that empty feeling?
Right there in my heart.
Yeah. Look at it.
Mhm.
Is there a color associated with it?
Dark, brown, black.
Take it out and look at it. Does it change color or stay the same? Make sure all of it's in your hands. You might need 2 hands for it, I don't know.
Still dark and empty.
Okay, is it moving? Which direction?
It's not moving, it's just slimy.
Slimy.
Yeah.
So reach into your pocket, pull out your handy dandy slime hairdryer, and dry it out. And when it's dry, change it so it's the opposite of what it was. Now put it back in and notice how different.
Better.
Okay. Or you can just take it out completely and put something else in there, but
I mean, use different words like fun, or happiness. I love joy, making people happy or fun, or at least contributing to that. Or I mean, that's it's just a wonderful thing that feels really good. When someone else is happy, it helps create that space inside.
have
of
you ever
that
felt
happiness.
really good, Eric?
It's been a while.
But you can remember what it felt
Yes.
like. As you think about that feeling, Remember that time? There's probably a place in your body where it's stored. Can you feel it now? First impression.
Yes.
Good. Look at it. Point to it.
Basically the same spot, but only deeper.
Point to it. Take it out and look at it. All of it. Notice the color. Notice the direction it's spinning or however other way it's moving. And now what I want you to do is I want you to double it. And then double it again. Until it's 10 times stronger than even the first time you experienced it. Take all the time you need to make it even more intense. And realize that from now on, with every breath you take, every beat of your heart, that pleasure is just going to get so much better. And when you know it's reached that place where it's unstoppable and it's permanent for you, just like a magnet is drawn to metal, you're going to go right back into your heart and into your circulatory system. Whoosh. Notice how good you feel.
Much better.
As everything changes for the right reasons. And as good as you feel, you're going to become 10 times more excited about moving through the world, giving people this level of pleasure, or even more, because now you realize that every time you give somebody pleasure, that space inside doubles. And then it doubles again. And then it doubles again.
This whole aura looks different. Whole feeling. It's awesome.
And your life is different now.
Very nice. I like it. Better forget that.
Simple enough? And it's still happening.
Still is.
Like that missing piece. How beautiful.
Pleasure. All right, I get it. Just needed a demo, that's all.